Hello, everyone. Our next speaker is someone I'm sure you all know. She has single-handedly done more for the Black community than any organization or president. She comes up on a regular basis against a lot of attack and still stays true to her message. I had the privilege of getting to work with her for a little bit, and she has been single-handedly a source of inspiration not only to myself but to many Americans. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to Candace Owens.
Hello. Hello. How epic is this? I love this. I love this because there are just Americans of every different color that are in here. I see white Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans. Exactly. I love the United States of America. We're so blessed to be here. And I just want to thank all of you guys for coming out because this is a really important issue and one that I've been talking about a lot. A really important question that I think everybody should ask themselves is, what is it about progressive policies that always seems to lead to regressive results for Americans, right? They claim that they're the party of progress. They claim that they're the party that are bringing things forward, and yet it always sends people back, especially minority Americans. We're hit first and foremost and the hardest by progressive policies. How many people in this audience are Hispanic? Look, oh my goodness, wow. Can someone do a camera pan? How many are just minorities? Raise your hand in the audience, right? Isn't that funny? I thought the wall was racist. Why are there so many minority Americans here today supporting it, right? I'll answer the questions. To not have a wall is racist. Any person that is saying we should have open borders in this country should be considered racist because we know what open borders leads to. It leads to detriments to the Black community and to the Hispanic American community. You know what the left never wants to talk about when they talk about Border Patrol agents? 50% of them are Hispanic Americans, north of 50%. Hardworking Hispanic Americans. So when the left says, let's abolish ICE, let's abolish Border Patrol, what they're saying is let's abolish jobs for hardworking Hispanic Americans who follow the rules and who respect this country in favor of the legal criminals that cross this border and have no respect for the process of legislation that we have built in this country. What is the second thing that they're saying when they argue for open borders? Back in 2008, under Barack Obama, there was a report that was commissioned. It was the United States Commission of Civil Rights that actually did this report. They wanted to explore illegal immigration and wanted to verify whether or not it was disproportionately hurting Black Americans. They had people on the left, people on the right that were involved in this report. It was done and it was very serious. It's very thick. If you guys want to go back and read it. What they found in this report was that illegal immigration, first and foremost, hurts Black Americans. Across the board, this was agreed, okay? Because when illegals come into this country, they are competing for jobs with low-wage workers, low-skilled workers, which is disproportionately Black American men between the ages of 18 and 21. They said the reason for this disparity, the reason why Black Americans are impacted the most is because they're at the bottom of society. And why is that? Because of liberal policies in the first place. Isn't that right? Liberal policies have destroyed minority American communities. When illegals come in here sanctioned by the cartels, when they come in here and they're sanctioned by the cartels, what communities do you think they're going to live in? You think they're going to live in gated communities in Hollywood? You think the illegal immigrants are going to live in the gated communities that millionaires like Bernie Sanders and Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris and all of these leftist Democrats that are wealthy live in? Maxine Waters, who lives outside of her district because her district is too poor to live inside of, right? She lives in a $6 million home outside of her district. Where are those illegals going to live? In minority communities. So when they say open the borders, it's okay, we'll deal with the crime and the sex trafficking and the drugs later, they're talking about bringing drugs and crime and sex trafficking directly into minority communities. You cannot forget that. I had watched that clip circulating on the internet, you know, Now This, that leftist rag that puts out propaganda for the left of AOC, right? Drawn to tears. She's a really good actress. You don't think she's a good actress? on the brink of tears, she was watching a woman testify about her child, her child very sadly at 19 months lost its life after it left the ICE detention centers because it had a lung infection. And AOC was brought to tears listening to this story about how she feels that our agents and that our government should have been responsible for the health of her child because she was leaving her country. You know what I didn't see of all the people that they called to testify? Why didn't they call any of the angel moms to testify? If they care about people that are losing their children because of immigration, why were no angel moms called into Congress to testify on that day? I had the pleasure this morning of speaking with an angel mom. Is she here? Where is Marianne Mendoza? Is she here? She might not be here. Give her a round of applause anyway. And she told me the story of her son, Brandon Mendoza. And I'll tell you, it's the first Candace Owens episode show that I was brought to tears listening to her and wondering why it is that our Congress members who claim to care so much about the lives of people never seem to care about American lives. Brandon Mendoza, she told me the story of her son, ever since he was 13 years old, wanted to be a police officer. And I wanted her to take me through that. I wanted her to take me through his childhood because that matters. Hearing the spirit of what it takes when a little kid determines that he wants to defend and he wants to protect and he wants to be a law enforcement agent. These are important stories to tell because the left is making it seem like they're all monsters, right? They're dehumanizing our Leos in this country. They're dehumanizing and making it seem like they're adults that decide, hey, I hate Hispanic Americans and I hate Black Americans, so I'm going to become a police officer or I'm going to become a border patrol agent. No, that's not the truth. Her son, at 13 years old, determined that he wanted to be a police officer because he loved his community so much. And he would go door to door. He learned the names of all of the people that he was protecting, and they loved him. He was protecting a Hispanic community. This is Arizona. It was in Arizona that he was protecting people. You guys know what these communities are like when you're close to the border, 60 miles north of the border. These are largely Hispanic communities. You can't be a racist police officer or a racist border patrol agent. You actually have to be people that care so much about people of other colors that you're willing to give your life every single day on the line. I made her take me through every second of getting that knock on the door when 2 police officers showed up and told her that there had been a bad accident. I made her take me through that wait when she told me what it was like for her as she was going to the hospital, not knowing whether or not things were okay, what condition he was in, only that there had been an accident. I made her take me through that moment when she walked into the hospital and looked to the right and saw his best friend, another police officer, on the ground, hysterically crying, and she knew in an instant. She knew in an instant that she was never going to see her son alive again. I made her take me through the next couple of days. I made her take me through the funeral procession. There she is. Stand up, Marianne. Stand up. Come up. Come here. Stand up. Stand up. The pledge that we should be making as Americans is to keep Brandon Mendoza's legacy alive. The lives of all of the Americans who have lost their lives to illegal aliens, the accidents which should have never happened. The moment that brought me to tears is when she described her other sons coming home. Do you mind if I share this? I mean, I guess we did it on a podcast. In her kitchen, and her sons realizing they were never going to see their brother again. Just imagine that moment for your kids, realizing they were never going to see their brother again, and they just hugged each other, and they cried, and they held on that embrace for a very long time, realizing that they were never going to see him ever again. Why doesn't Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ask about those moments? Why doesn't Rashida Tlaib, these House Democrats who have gone crazy defending people that are not our own, ask about those moments? The suffering that parents like her go through. What is happening in this country is wrong. It's absolutely horrific. We are punishing those people. We are making it pretend that his life never mattered. Worse, what they want to do is in the future, they want to make it seem like that guy was just some racist. These Border Patrol agents deserve what they have coming to them. It's okay to be violent towards police officers. I want you to talk a little bit about your son. Please do. Please do.
As she said, Brandon knew at the age of 13 that he wanted to become a police officer. He had spent some time with a police officer in Chicago who talked about the importance of being a modern-day beat cop. And that's what Brandon became. And he was put in charge of an area of South Mesa that had drug dealers and had a lot of homeless people. And there were illegal aliens living in that neighborhood. But Brandon knew these were contributing members of society, and he worked side by side with them. He would check on the elderly in the area. He had their children's phone numbers so that if something was wrong, he could let their children know so that they could come. But he went to the Boys and Girls Club in the area. He mentored the children. He had bought 3 bicycles for 3 grandchildren that were being raised by their grandparents. And it was before he was killed, so the Mesa Police Department ended up getting those bikes to the children. I ended up providing Christmas for those children for the next few years because I knew that's what Brandon would have done. And so many children came up to me after his funeral and said, Mrs. Mendoza, who's going to buy us pizza and who's going to buy us ice cream? Because he would go to the park on his days off and play kickball with these children and talk to them about the importance of staying in school, staying off drugs, and staying out of gangs. And there are a lot of children in that neighborhood who told me they wanted to be police officers. They wanted to be just like my son. So I know he made a difference, and unfortunately, his life was cut short before he could make the full difference that he wanted to in our community. But thank you for helping me keep his memory alive, and thank you all.
These are the stories that we need to hear about. These are the stories that we need to tell. We can't rely on the mainstream media to tell them because they want to bury them. Why? Because they want to import criminals. Why? Because they want a new class of victim voters. Because Black Americans, our population growth has stagnated thanks to that progressive policy of abortion, right? Progressive policies, regressive results, exactly. So now they're looking at a new class of victims that they can import from the southern border and turn into voting mules for them, and that's what it's about. They don't care about illegals. They don't care about Black Americans. They don't care about white Americans. They don't care about America at all. What they are after is power, and we cannot let them have it. I spend every single 6 days a week on the road fighting, and people say, how do you have so much energy? How do you do it? You know why? Because there's no other option, guys. What we have on the line in 2020 is so important. Do whatever you can. I was a girl that was on YouTube. That's all I had, a computer and some ideas. I had an idea that maybe minority Americans needed to wake up. Maybe we were being used and abused and lied to by the left, right? That was my idea. I started on YouTube. I remember a guy in California, one of the first people that ever reached out to me and said, hey, you're going somewhere, kid. And he sent me $500 a month on Patreon. And what that meant to me was that I got to keep going. And look where I am today, right? There are so many other patriots. You've met some of them today that are fighting the same battle I'm fighting. DC Drano, Anna Paulina, YouTubers that are feeling the same thing, putting on a MAGA hat and talking about what it means to be an American, because we are united in this country, right? The American flag represents something that transcends race, sex, gender, sexuality. It unites us based on a philosophy. And that philosophy is that you can start anywhere in this country. If you are willing to work hard and stay out of trouble, this country will reward you. That is the American dream. The American dream is what is on the line in 2020, and that is what each and every one of us have to make a promise and a pact to protect. Thank you guys so much for having me. USA!